quickly, and I will invite the coordinator of the project Free S.H.S Graduates Movement to invite the rest of the executives. Kofi, please take your stand right here. The rest will join you as the coordinator invites them for the association to be launched by the chair. The chair will be joined by Ayoka Charles. Ayoka Charles, if you are here, kindly join the chair on the days to aid in the launch.
Good afternoon. I take this opportunity to invite the list of executives for free S.H.S graduates in Greater Accra region. Ajuman Kofi, President. Apeti Samuel, Vice President. Benpong Agba Gifting, General Secretary. Nyambo Mawusi is the PR. Opori Majid is the Financial Secretary. Irene Jobina is the Assistant Financial Secretary, the Assistant Financial Secretary. Kunadu Guatin Winifred, Organizer. Sir Kodye Agata Nana Ama, Assist Organizer. Hafiz Larry, Chief Editor. Abraham Victoria, Assist Chief Editor. We are also privileged to have in our midst few national executives. So I take this opportunity to invite Ayoka Charles, National President. Prince Owusu NLV, Protocol Executive. Maxwell Opoku, Vice President. Clinton Apia Pisi, Financial Secretary. Mr. Chairman, your executives.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jakonfa. He is the coordinator of all of this. The national executives who kindly join us up here, those who are national executives, regional coordinator. So our Greater Accra regional coordinator is going to introduce the executives. Thank you very much. So you join the chair. So these are national leaders. Ayoka, please join me. Good. These are national leaders together with the regional coordinator. So we invite the chairman to deliver his speech and to officially declare the Greater Accra.
Thank you so very much. I'm very glad to once again be given the opportunity to launch our Free S.H.S Graduate Association. But before I do that, I'll proceed with a short presentation. So myself, I come from the coast. I'm a son of Teshi in the Greater Accra region. My mother was a typist, but my dad was a typist, my mom a storekeeper, my grandmother a fish smoker, my grandfather a mason. So you can see that I come from a very modest family. I didn't understand what school was about until I've been asked to let my nose mask lie. but because I'm one of the COVID commanders, I want to be careful. So really, I didn't understand what education was about until I had this opportunity to join an extra class. They call it extra classes. I attended field engineers. It's one of the schools, army schools. So there was this man in the area, a teacher, who invited us to classes. I joined for some few weeks, and then I was able to put letters together to form words, and I could read. And that was the first light I saw. I'll speak about the second light. It changed everything. I could read, and then it made me start to enjoy school. But I had to drop out of the extra classes because fees came up. Anywhere I go, once fees come up, I find a nice way of exiting. Because I came from a family that wasn't that well endowed. So I was charged school fees, I think about 3-4 occasions when I was at field engineers. And it will amaze you. This is not a private school where fees are on the roof. Very basic ones. In fact, the third time I was sacked, the headmistress now refused to take me in. She said she's had enough of me not paying my fees. And then what happened? Funnily for me, when my mom was begging the headmistress, she got a visitor who was a neighbor, stayed close to us. So she asked my mom, "What are you doing here?" So they just sacked Okoe school fees. I said, "Oh, I know the woman, I'll talk to her." She spoke to her in a particular language that only the two of them understood. And the next thing she said was that I could come back, pay the fees, and continue. It's just to let you know that it's not just free, it's not the S.H.S. fees that used to tempt people away. Even schools at the basic level, J.H.S., it was a struggle. And then finally, I was fortunate, I studied hard, had 12 ones, and got precepted. I was all excited. And then it dawned on me again, the same word, fees. And this time, my mom had to gather some of the utensils she had bought. You know, my mom is those women who has a lot of cloth in the wardrobe, utensils. Sometimes I used to ask her, "Why you keeping all this?" And she couldn't tell me anything substantive. But I later realized that those who didn't belong to the middle or upper class to have land and houses and things, these were the things they kept to sell off in times of difficulty. So I followed my mom. We went to one lady who is a big woman in the community, sold some of the utensils. I went with her and we were giving money. I didn't understand why the woman wanted to take my mom's utensils before giving us the money. But that's how I got admission fees for Legon Precept. So we got to Precept. We had to buy science books. It was a challenge. I had to befriend people who came from good homes, good in quotes. I'm talking about money, not necessarily other things, but money. And through that, gradually, we were able to finish Precept. And then I got Tech. And Tech also had a hurdle. You have to get 2 guarantors before you can access the SNIT loan. My mother had to find, I remember him very well, a security man at where my mom worked, Staff College in Teshi. We had to negotiate with him. He had fears that maybe if I ran away, they would take it from his SNIT pension. He wasn't ready. My mom had to get him some bottles of beer. I remember those days, the man drank something, was calm. He said, "Okay, let me do this." But I intentionally mentioned these blocks, these hurdles, these walls, to let you know that in life, you will always meet some walls. But some of the walls can be dealt with by yourself or your family. There are others that ought to be dealt with by a good government. And I'm happy that you are free S.H.S. graduates. Look, there are lessons that I've learned. The first one is that elections are not a child's play. What happens after the elections will determine whether you struggle or you're able to make it. That is absolutely important. And I'm happy that the Akufo-Addo government has taught us that a good government can break those walls that can threaten all of us. The only thing that can make the son of a rich man sit at the same table with the children of the poor is education. It doesn't matter whether you stay at Teshi, Carnation, Latabi Okoshi, Tubular, Adoe. It doesn't matter where you come from. Once you get a shot at education, anyone who stayed anywhere, from Transaco Valley to New York, you can meet them and match them anywhere you meet the rest of your life. And the reason why I am particularly interested in senior high school is that basic school is free, except for those who want to go to private schools. My mom took me to the army school. It is pseudo public because the fees are not like private. But you have to pay something small just to also have a feel of how life outside the typical cluster of schools is. And even that small fees, it was a challenge. But the point I want to make is that when you get to senior high school, really you're on your own. But this government, by intervening, has done something that's very significant, and I want you to know. If you terminate at JHS, if you finish your schooling at JHS, your brain is not cooked enough to handle training and knowledge acquisition for the rest of your life. We call it the cerebrum for those who do science, for those who've done science. The part of the brain that handles learning, storage, that part is not cooked enough. And so for the rest of your life, if 10 years later you meet me and I'm ready to take you to Oxford, you can't go to Oxford because the brain is half cooked. But when anyone is able to complete S.H.S, that fellow is like a vehicle that has been parked at the garage. Anytime there's an opportunity, he can step on the highway and get to any destination that has been put in front of him. And so when I finished PSEC, there were 2 parties that finished that year for the first time. And so I tried to get to Tech. They said I have to wait for a year. I'd waited 1 year already. They said I have to wait for a second year if I want to do medicine. I said, it's not a problem. The brain is cooked. Even if it's 5 years, when I enter, I'll step on the road. And I waited 2 years, stepped on the road, and in 7 years, I finished the program. Now, the message I'm sending is that all of you are like vehicles that are ready to move now, thanks to this government. There is no way you'll be cut out like those who came before you because of governments that were not visionary, governments that were not prepared to support them. I have nieces, in fact I have cousins, my mom's sisters and brothers. I have cousins who wash cars. I have cousins who are not baked and can't do anything. Now, I can get them PhD scholarships because of this government's efforts. I can get them scholarships to do free S.H.S, to do everything. But they just can't sit and absorb because they terminated early. And that is why this association is a very, very significant one that will forever remind future generations that it was your time that a turnaround policy came into place to make sure that you are positioned to serve your country and to serve your generation very, very well. In conclusion, your colleague, the president, wow, the guy has become a president so early. But he doesn't use a motorcade. He has to work harder so that one day we'll have a motorcade like Nana Ifeanyi. He made a statement that is true, but I want to even challenge him further. He said, if for nothing at all, a government that does you good, the least you can do is to also do good to that government and support it. But really, that is not even the only reason why, and the most important reason why you have to support the government. The worst thing that can happen to a man is to be so educated, so trained, so equipped, and yet no opportunity to work or to put his skills to application. I'm talking about unemployment. I know people who had been so educated, were at home, couldn't get a job because we had a government that had managed the economy so bad. They couldn't even pay allowances to nurses and teachers, and they couldn't create jobs. They were told by the IMF, stop employing your people because you don't have the money to pay them. So I saw doctors who for the first time were sitting at home for like 1 year, 2 years. Nurses sat at home for 4, 5 years. Trained, skilled, finished SHS, equipped, parents paid fees in nursing school, and yet at home. I saw people who were working at Obuasi mining. They closed their mines because electricity bills were too much. Doomsaw was around. And so, really, the journey has just started for you. You have a duty to help keep this government for long, because it's the same government that can give you opportunity when you finish tertiary education. Forget where you are coming from, whether you are from an NDC family or an NPP family. It's about your future. My mother was a staunch NDC. When you ask her, why are you with these people? She has no reason. She has been told funny things. I didn't want to go into that, and I will not go into that now. But I'm happy that later you realize that so much opportunity came with this government. And she supported me before she left us to go ahead, lead politics in this party, and to help my people. The point is that for the sake of our own lives and our generation and our future generation, we have a duty to keep this tradition for as long as possible. That is the best way to keep Ghana on the best foot. Finally, I would like to thank all of you for showing gratitude, for coming to be part of this program. I joined the SRC when I was in Present. I was the SRC Vice President when I was in Tech. For you who are here, you have not wasted your time. There are people that will say that, why are you doing all this? You pick skills even when you involve yourself in such activities. In this current and modern world, it is such skills that will set you apart and make sure that you become giants amongst your colleagues going forward. I'd like to thank your executives. I'd like to thank all of you for this organization, for showing gratitude. Gratitude is the best sign that you have a good heart. A fine brain is not enough to guarantee you success. There are criminals with fine brains. Criminals who can wreck a nation and wreck communities. What you need in addition to a fine brain is a good heart. And a good heart shows gratitude. So keep your good hearts, keep your fine brains, and keep this government and this president for as long as possible. And very soon, we are going to meet at the top. God bless you. I declare this association officially launched now and going forward. Thank you very much.
Please let's give a round of applause. Round of applause. Wow, 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 wow. Thank you very much, Honorable Dr. Okoe Boye, for such an inspiring speech, laced with personal stories. And this is what Free S.H.S is about. This is what good governance is about. Governance that gets results. Let's clap for the government again and for Honorable Boye for this powerful initiative. So, ladies and gentlemen,